Hey, alright, Mr. Robinson here. Another video. You guys see me? Alright, another video, lecture video that I'm doing here for you guys. This will be over labor unions during the period we're studying, which is the Gilded Age. Alright, got the polo shirt on. So hey, time to work day. So I'm going to go through the slides as I always do and explain stuff to you about this emergence of the labor unions. And this is where your assignment is on Canvas as well. It's about the labor unions as well as some of the instances and events that happen with the labor movement. Okay, so this is kind of the first time where we have in American history a big contingent or a big movement for labor. All right, so let's get started. In the beginning, from the beginning, emergency labor unions. All right, so with labor, with these big businesses, as I talked about earlier this week, and you had these captains of industry making all this money, the workers themselves were exposed to bad working conditions, or just the things that are on there. Okay, you had low wages, long hours. So you had to work a long time for a little bit of money. All right, that's not the career path I think most of us are trying to choose. Dangerous working conditions. Those are three things. All right, this is why people ultimately strike or protest their job and they eventually form labor unions. I'll go over that. So remember, low wages, so you're not making much money, but you got to work a long time to get that little bit of money, and then dangerous working conditions as well. So the same thing right there. So many employees said, look, these captains of industry, robber barons as they're also known, say, look, you need to work 7 hours, 7 days, or 6 days at 12 hours. Standard today is a 40-hour work week. This right here, 7 days, a 7 day work week is much exceeds that. Or 6 days at 12 hours, how many hours per week is that? 72. So a little more than 40. Employees do not receive vacation, sick leave, or reimbursement compensation known as workers' comp for their injuries on the job. And the injuries were common, happened a lot. So these are things that the workers are wanting, trying to get. Also, so just the things that are on there, the wages were so low that everybody in the family has to work. So now you're having children who have to work in order to just support the family. All right, it's difficult times here for people. And there's some more examples of how women were discriminated against and how our guy Andrew Carnegie, he made 23 million a year. Some of these people were only making $500 a year. All right, not some. That's the average. It's $500 a year, while Carnegie's making 23 million. So with this, all right, with everyone's in an uproar because obviously there's something wrong if he's making 23 million and all the people who are allowing him to work and make it are allowing him to make that much money, they're only making 500 million and they're having to put up with these bad working conditions and they work long hours, so they form labor unions. Okay, so these are things that labor unions, their strategies. Strike, all right, we just won't work until we get what we want. That kind of goes along with collective bargaining. So think of it like this. This past week, right? What did the NBA players do? Right? They boycotted the game. Well, let's just say LeBron James, that's one player. LeBron James said, you know what, I'm not going to play in protest. Well, or the games still go on if just one player protests? Yeah. But if the whole team now protest, then that game was probably going to get canceled. Now, if all the teams protested like they did, all the games got canceled or postponed. So That's the idea of collective bargaining, strength in numbers. And arbitration is calling for a third party to look at the dispute and try to mediate the dispute. So these are things that the workers did to try to get what they want. The owners would do things as well. All right, the owners may do a lockout. Okay, we're just going to lock you out, so you're not going to work, you're not going to get paid. Um, a scab would be like a replacement worker. So a scab is something that heals over a wound. Well, all right, you don't want to play, so we'll get a scab. Or you don't want to work, well, I'll get a scab. I'll get someone here to do your job. Probably pay them less to do it. All right, so that's what the owners did. All right, this is I'm not going to go over this as much, but this is going to help you fill out that chart. All right. Also, because the chart is the assignment, the labor unions. It'll also help you, or you also need to use the internet to do that chart. You can use the online textbook as well. The Knights of Labor was one. You have the National Labor Union. There was another. And again, some of the things these people or these groups are protesting are not protesting but pushing for is an 8-hour workday. All right, hey, I don't want to work 12 hours a day. I want to get compensated the same for working 8 hours a day. That's the idea behind it. 1866, National Labor Unions formed. So that's like the very early labor union. But look, most of these we're talking around again the 1890s to the early 1900s. These labor unions. All right, craft unionism. What craft unionism is, and there's a place in the chart that you have to fill out is who was able to join. So some of these labor unions are only open to skilled workers. What's the difference between an unskilled and a skilled worker? Okay. Would a mechanic be considered a skilled or unskilled worker? Skilled worker. All right. A teacher would be considered a skilled worker. Now, maybe someone like a janitor or a waiter, something like that would be considered more unskilled. Basically, the difference is if you need some type of training to do the job, you're considered a skilled worker. All right. So, like to be a teacher, okay, you need an education. So that's considered to being skilled. To be a mechanic, the other example is you need to be trained in how to mechanically fix and produce a working automobile. All right, to be a now there are differences in construction. I work construction as well. I'm just a late when I work in construction. I'm just a laborer. Okay, I don't really. There's nothing that I do that is really very skillful in that. I'm at the very bottom. Now, the licensed contractor, he would be considered skilled because one, he has to get a license to do that, and he has to go through and take a test in order to get that license. So that's the difference between skilled and unskilled. The tactics of the AFL here, led by Samuel Gompers, it's a big labor organization. They use strikes, right? Industrial unionism, all right, that is they had skilled and unskilled workers with that. Eugene Debs, he's the guy who led that. He's famous because he was the early leader of the Socialist Party in the United States. They also used strikes. Another thing when you're considering the membership of these groups is some were only open to, remember this is before the civil rights era, some were only open to um, white workers only. Okay, that's key as well. So you can include that when you're filling out your chart for the assignment. Industrial workers of the world, also led by Eugene Debs. Remember, I said advocate for socialism, so maybe that could help you fill in that 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 chart as well. Eugene Debs, leader of the Socialist Party, actually ran for president 3 or 4 times on the Socialist Party ticket. Now he never garnered a huge amount of support. So that's kind of with the industrial workers of the world. They never rose to the height of the American Federation of Labor or Knights of Labor because they pushed for socialism, which has not typically been very popular throughout the history of the United States. Socialism hasn't. So this is the other part of the chart, and you can basically, I'm not going to go over all of these. You can basically use this to fill in the chart. There were a lot of instances where the workers protesting their conditions, it evolved into a riot or some type of violence. So it's almost not, it's not dissimilar, but it's not exactly like that either. Some of the stuff that's going on in the country today. So you have some places that are peacefully protesting the conditions for racial inequality and things, police brutality that have been going on in the country. And you have other places too where that protest has kind of turned into some type of violence or crime. This is similar to the strikes here that or these certain instances and events that happen. So in Haymarket Square, you have a person who threw a bomb at the police. The bomb exploded, and then the police opened fire. At Homestead, which is the home of the Carnegie Steel Company, there was a dispute between the labor and then the management, and then the National Guard was called in, and there were people killed there as well. So these are all instances and examples of the disputes turning violent. A lot of the effects, and this is going to be on the quiz and the test, is that once there were riots that happened, a lot of the public attention or a lot of the public perception of these labor groups started to turn against the labor groups because they perceived the labor groups as being violent. So, all right, you're violent, you're inciting violence. We're not going to support you anymore. That's kind of how the public felt. And there's some part of the public is feeling the same way today with some of the protests that are happening, the ones that are turning violent. Okay, this important as well. This is an example of the harsh working conditions. Some call the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. There were women. Basically, what happened is there were women working in this building in New York City making garments, shirtwaist. Well, the garments caught on fire. Remember, this is in 1911, so there are no fire codes in the city. There's no sprinkler system involved, and what happened was the doors had been locked to the building where they were working in, so they couldn't get out. They're up here on the 5th floor of the building. I show if you were in my class, I'll show you a video of a reenactment of this, but they couldn't get out. 146 women died in this fire, so it was a big ordeal because it led to more sanctions being put in for better working conditions and owners of these factories and places having to conform to uniform codes, meaning uniform codes meaning for safety, fire regulations, right? We have fire inspections in this. We have fire inspections in the school now. Okay, the fire marshal will come in and make sure our building is safe in case there's a fire. All right, Lord forbid they play my mixtape of music because that is fire as well. All right, that's it. So this is how the rest of the week is going to work. I'm putting the video or the assignments already on Canvas. There's not. I'm going to post the video, send it out. There's not going to be any more videos for the rest of the week. Tomorrow I'll put the quiz on Canvas. So the quiz is not going to be due. So you can't say I'm a bad guy on this. Quiz is not going to be due until Tuesday night. Because I'm going to give you the whole weekend, the whole Labor Day weekend to do the quiz, as well as Tuesday as well. Next week, there's going to be a project, an assignment, and then a test. All right, and that'll be it for Unit 2. So please, if you have any questions, email me.